Thank you all so much for coming by our YouTube channel, We Like Comic Books. If you enjoyed the video that you've seen today, please like it and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Okay, on to the comic book review. The story arc that we're going to be talking about today is a Wonder Woman story arc that goes by the name of the Dark Gods. And from this point forward, I'm just going to refer to it, or you're most likely to hear me refer to it as the Dark Gods story arc. And I got to tell you, just the name alone had me very interested in this series, and I've actually been looking forward to reading it for a while. Because one of the things I enjoy the most about comics is just the sheer power and all sorts of abilities that the different characters have that are introduced to us by the writers of those comic books. But what's always been of particular interest to me is the representation of different gods, cosmic entities, and really their power level. Just by virtue of their names, you got to imagine their power set, their abilities should truly be on another level in and of itself. So again, just the name alone has me very interested in this story, and my hopes is that this shapes up to be a very good story arc. So hey, let's go ahead and take a dive into the Dark Gods story arc. So at the time of the Dark Gods story arc, at the time that this book was actually written, there was a huge miniseries, a huge DC event, a huge miniseries that had just been completed shortly before the Dark Gods story arc was written. And the name of that miniseries was called Dark Knight's Metal. Now in this series, a lot of very cool things happen. I highly recommend reading it because it's not only a great read, but it does a lot of things to help set up the DC universe from that point forward. Well, in that book, in that story arc, they feature something in there that's very important, very critical, very crucial to DC comic book lore, and it's something called the Source Wall. The Source Wall is something within DC Comics that's literally considered to be the end of the universe. It's a wall that expands high and wide. You can't really get over it. You can't get around it. It just exists. And there are many theories as to what that wall actually does. So one of the things I just hinted at or alluded to is that the end of the universe. Some people think that it's the end of the universe, meaning that, hey, once you hit that wall, there's nothing on the other side. There are others that believe that maybe that wall is there to help protect this universe from things that are on the other side. There are some that think there could be some higher celestial beings that are there as well. You know, no one has ever known because there are not any cases of, well, excuse me, there are a few cases, but really actually getting a dent in that wall, getting through that wall is something that's not been done. Well, there was something that happened in the Dark Knight's Metal miniseries that was actually revolutionary, never been done before in DC Comics. And I'm gonna give you an opportunity to pause this video for about 15 seconds because I'm going to give you a spoiler if you've not read Dark Knight's Metal yet. So you've been warned. Again, you got about 15 seconds to pause this video. So alright, here's a spoiler alert. What happens in Dark Knight's Metal is the heroes are actually able to crack the Source Wall. And I'm not going to go into the details as to what all that means, but the Source Wall was cracked. And it's hinted at the conclusion of Dark Knight's Metal that the ramifications of that event have yet to fully unfold. So there you go. That's our setup. Now into the Dark God story arc. The way that this book basically starts out is we start off with an image of Cheetah strapped to a table. And if you're not familiar with Cheetah, the Cheetah is one of Wonder Woman's most iconic adversaries, iconic villains. So the Cheetah is strapped to this table because she was captured by another one of Wonder Woman's enemies, a woman by the name of Veronica Cale. And there's a lot of history between Veronica Cale and Wonder Woman, and we'll possibly explore that in another video. But nevertheless, Veronica Cale has captured the Cheetah in order to run different sorts of experiments on her. And to run these experiments, she's enlisted the help of a woman by the name of Dr. Poison. And I've got to tell you, with the name of Dr. Poison, I can only imagine, unfortunately for the Cheetah, that those tests were probably not the most pleasant. But Dr. Poison is in a bit of she's perplexed basically because she doesn't understand why the Cheetah is unresponsive and how she got into this condition. So she's there conferring with her scientific team, and all of a sudden, while she's trying to figure out why the Cheetah is the way that she is, the cheetah's eyes pop open and the cheetah goes into like a berserker rage. I mean, she's slicing and dicing scientists and soldiers alike. And when I watched this and when I read it, I'm thinking to myself, if she's making such short work of these soldiers, how in the world is it that she was recaptured in the first place? Because it appears like she's having no problem at all dealing with the soldiers. So the only thing I can think of is, Veronica must have just set a trap, caught the cheetah unaware, and that is probably how it is that she got captured in the first place. Is up with her, and if you can see the look in her eyes, you can tell she does not want Veronica Kell to be here one moment longer. And just as the cheetah is moments away from ending her life, Wonder Woman is able to appear and actually save Veronica. And Wonder Woman and Cheetah are fighting back and forth across several different pages here of the comic. But during their battle, Wonder Woman catches a glimpse of something in the sky. And it's interesting to me because this glimpse really seems to have bothered Wonder Woman. Maybe it's because it happened so quickly. I mean, the Wonder Woman is beginning to wonder if she's hallucinating or if there was any poison in the claws of the cheetah that had gotten into her bloodstream and then it's causing her to potentially see things. But before Wonder Woman can question Cheetah, the cheetah disappears and Wonder Woman is not able to get her questions answered. Shortly after Wonder Woman loses track of Cheetah, she gets contacted by Steve Trevor, and she's hoping that Steve has some news about the whereabouts of Cheetah. But Steve actually has different news. Steve is letting her know that there are people all across the world that are exhibiting strange behaviors, and as a matter of fact, that behavior is in line with the behavior that the cheetah was demonstrating. And that's number one, people swearing off the deities or deity that they were currently worshiping in anticipation of the arrival of the dark gods. And number two, there was all sorts of erratic and different behavior that was taking place at the same time. So as Wonder Woman gets this information, it appears like she's getting ready to either continue to look for Cheetah or do some more investigating based off of the information that Steve gave her. But what she wasn't prepared for was what happens here within the next few panels, because out of nowhere, Wonder Woman gets punched and appears to be very hard by Supergirl. And it appears that Supergirl has been caught up into the effects of the dark gods as well. Because what Supergirl is saying is that Rayo, I hope I pronounced it right, I think I butchered it, but that Rayo, who is a god in the Kryptonian pantheon, is dead, and that Wonder Woman is next. So if you ask me, man, those are some fighting words if I've ever heard them before. And that's basically it for this issue, issue number 46 of the Dark Gods saga, the Dark Gods story arc. And I want to thank you all for watching this video, and I've got to let you know I'm really looking forward to seeing how the Dark Gods actually play out in the story arc. I think that there's some really interesting things that the writers have done to just give us an idea of the sort of power that the Dark Gods have. Because one of the things that I think is really fascinating is, I'm operating on the premise that the Dark Gods have not arrived on Earth yet. That they're probably close but not on Earth. But I think just the fact that they're close to Earth is causing these sort of, I won't call them attacks, but it's causing this sort of disruption in the human populace. So I think that's a pretty cool power, pretty cool abilities. So I'm looking forward to see how this gets fleshed out in the upcoming books. So again, thank you all for watching. Please subscribe so that you can stay tuned for the next video that's coming out in this series. Have a good one, everybody.